Hey there, everyone. Today we are here to talk about Esophageal Guardian and some of its alternatives. So, we all know that the holidays are upon us, which means lots of company dinners, lots of family dinners that may leave you and your stomach feeling a little bit less than great. And so, you might see this Esophageal Guardian. I first came across it on Walmart's website and it does a great job of advertising to relieve gastric distress and help coat the esophagus and help it heal, which sounds great. In reality, I found though that it didn't get the greatest reviews here or on any other website that I looked on. And a little bit about it, it's a chewable supplement. As it says, it's kind of like a Tums almost, is how I would describe it, except that it's a totally different product. But your tablet is going to be a lot like a Tums tablet. Small, they're berry flavored, and you put it in your mouth, you chew it. And this is where we get to the first main complaint of a lot of people is that it's really chalky and sometimes kind of foamy in your mouth, and people don't love that feeling. It makes them gag, which is the last thing you want when you're already having heartburn or reflux. And so that was a big turnoff for a lot of people. Um, Good things about it, it is vegetarian, gluten-free, non-GMO, but I think the jury is still out for a lot of people on whether it works. A lot of people are saying they either love or hate it, either works really well for them or it does not work at all. Another big thing, if we come over here to the ingredients, a lot of people are having a hard time with some of the ingredients. This xylitol and the citric acid, both were causing some people some gastric distress and gas, which is not what we want when we're trying to get rid of all of those symptoms. So if you're somebody who has a sensitivity to citric acid or the xylitol, I would definitely look to one of these other options. But coming back up here to what makes Esophageal Guardian and all of these other picks today work for the people that they work for is this alginic acid. And you'll see it written a couple of different ways. But basically what it is, if you're not familiar, is it comes from alginate, which is a derivative from brown seaweed that has been cleaned, refined, and the supplement extracted. And it's used to create essentially a raft over the top of your stomach's contents so that they don't come up, keeping all of the acid and everything down in your stomach where it should be, not coming up your esophagus or your throat to make you uncomfortable and have those heartburn or those reflux or those GERD symptoms. So let's talk about some alternatives. If you have tried Esophageal Guardian and it's not working for you, or you're maybe just not loving the flavor, the texture, whatever it is, I've got 3 alternatives for you. So let's start with the first one, Reflux Gourmet. And this has been my top pick after looking through a ton of these on Amazon, at Walmart, and just at the local drugstore. So the first thing that stood out to me, mint chocolate rescue. Who doesn't love something that tastes good? If you are not a mint chocolate person, though, they also have a vanilla caramel version of this, which I've been told is really, really good as well. So you've got 2 really different flavors, both on the sweeter end, but not the fruit flavor. So if we go over here to supplements, facts about this, you have 10 calories in here, which comes from the sugar that has been added. But I love that they chose to include just a regular sugar rather than some of the other artificial sweeteners or other natural sweeteners that are causing people more gas, more problems. I feel like I'd rather take the little 10 calories over the gastric distress that comes from all of the other things that people try to use to make something sweet. So then coming down here, they have a proprietary alginate complex, which if you go back to the Esophageal Guardian, it does have about half of what the Esophageal Guardian has as far as the alginate complex goes. But teaser for later in the video, this may not actually make a huge difference. There's a little bit of a threshold here of how much alginate works and how much you really need. And I would say that everybody I have talked to, everything I've seen online, this amount of alginate works really well. And you don't maybe need all of the other alginate that they're putting in. And this one, Reflux Gourmet, you just take a single teaspoon of it, or about 5 milliliters, and you can take it after meals or before bed. This was definitely the most popular one if you have reflux or heartburn as you're going to sleep or throughout the night. This has been a really popular one to take before bed. So if we come back up to some of the benefits, one of the other big things that stood out to me is that it is all natural and it's free of all of your major allergens, glycerin, potassium, and parabens. So it's going to be a lot more natural, a lot more friendly to any kind of population or person that is on a special diet or has restrictions, because it's not going to have all of those other chemically add-ins that a lot of others have. Meaning it's also safe for children and for people during pregnancy without the known side effects. Another cool little fact is that it is made here in the US. It's actually out of Northern California. And so you're going to find it locally, and it is also available on Amazon. So it can be overnighted or 2-day shipped if you have Prime to most places in the US. So that's a little bit about Reflux Gourmet, our top pick. Like I said, they come in 2 flavors and really good. Our next one is the Gaviscon Advance. And this, to preface, if you are in the US, this is going to be really hard, if not impossible to get. It's based out of the UK. It used to be here in the States, but is no longer available. So if you're in the US and you don't want to fight customs or try and get it in through a back door, I would honestly skip this option. Stick with the Reflux Gourmet or the Reflexster that I'll talk about next. But if you can get a hold of the Gaviscon Advance, this is probably the longest standing alginate brand. They've been around for a long time, and they're used in a lot of clinical trials and studies as well. It comes in 2 flavors. It comes in peppermint and aniseed, and liquid, tablet form, your preference. And it has a lot of the same ingredients, same benefits as you'll see in the Esophageal Guardian. People will say it's the most medicine-y type flavor or consistency. It's a liquid, and it has also been shown to be suitable for people who are pregnant and has a low sodium count. So if you are looking for a lower sodium option, this is a great choice. Again, it's harder to get in the US, but you can buy it in the UK really easily. Coming down here, it has 1,000 milligrams of the sodium alginate, so it's right on par with Esophageal Guardian, and about twice that of the Reflux Gourmet. But when I compared them, not a lot of difference. So it's also sugar-free, vegan-friendly, so you're safe for most populations here as well. And then coming on to our last choice here is the Reflexster. And this is a little bit different as far as like the type of supplement. So I tried to pick one that showcased all the different types of supplements you could have. So the Esophageal Guardian, we know, is the chewable Tums-like tablet. And the mint chocolate rescue from Reflux Gourmet is going to be more of a gel, almost like a pudding, just something really easy to swallow. Your Gaviscon Advance is the liquid that you can just drink, and Reflexster is in a vegetarian capsule. So if you're really sensitive to flavors at all, this is a really good one. But that being said, it isn't a capsule, and I feel like it does take a little bit longer to work than some of the others that just will hit your stomach and work right away. because that capsule has to obviously dissolve. And so let's talk Reflexster. From their website, you have the sodium alginate, and it, if we can find it, has actually the most alginate. It's not going to show us on here. We'll have to get on the Amazon to look at that. But it has over 1,400 milligrams of the alginate in it. So it kind of blows everybody else out of the water on that alginate. But I have found that that really does not matter. So I compared all 4 of these products, which all have really varying ranges of alginate in them, from the Reflux Gourmet on that lower end all the way up here to Reflexster on the high end. And I really wondered, like, would one that's on the higher end get better reviews? Would it be more effective? The answer is no. Once you kind of hit that threshold that I think Reflux Gourmet hits really well, they have that lowest point. Once you get to that point, the rest does not seem to matter. It is equally as effective as this Reflexster is, but Reflux Gourmet is using so much less product. So you're putting a whole lot less into your body to get the same result, which for me is why one of the big reasons why I put that one at the very top, is because it had the minimal amount of ingredients, the most natural ingredients, but was equally as effective as these other 3 that are throwing other additives or more of the supplement in there when it's not actually necessary. So the Reflexster, like I said, though, is really good if you have flavor sensitivities. It's also sugar-free. So if you are somebody who is trying to stay away from any kind of sugar, this is a great option as well. And you can look, like I said, all of these, the Esophageal Guardian, the Reflux Gourmet, and Reflexster, you can all get on Amazon in the US, the Gaviscon Advance. You cannot, if you do look it up on Amazon, you'll probably see it, but it's going to be a different formulation than the alginate containing one that is sold in the UK. So just be aware of that. If you get on and you're like, oh, hey, she's wrong. Nope, it's there. It just looks a little bit different and has a different makeup. But kind of to close out here, obviously you've got your Esophageal Guardian, and I think of that as kind of your drugstore brand, which some drugstore things work great, some not so much. But the Reflux Gourmet, I felt like was just the best option. It's all natural, so you're going to have a lot less side effects, and it has an equally as effective amount without going overboard with any of the supplement contents. Gaviscon Advance, kind of that tried and true option if you can find it, is great. And the Reflexster is your sugar-free capsule alternative for flavor sensitivities if you just like to swallow a pill. Ultimately, it comes down to your personal preference, what kind of method you like to take. But that Reflux Gourmet is where I would honestly recommend anybody starting, just because it is minimally invasive and it tastes good, honestly, which we all love, especially when you've already got that sour heartburn taste. So I would start there, absolutely. If you're trying to find something that's going to push you through the holidays, help you get through all those company dinners, all those family dinners, start with Reflux Gourmet, because it is going to be your holiday rescue.